Since 2007, the Assassin's Creed series has let players climb, jump, leap, and of course stab their way through swathes of history. The fiction hinges on the Animus, a machine that lets you revisit the ancestral memories of the game's main protagonist, Desmond Miles. Fortunately, the Animus sticks you, the player, in the role of various assassins from way back in his ancestral line, not say his gran who worked as a florist. That would make for a very different game. Under control of the player, our assassins perform feats of near superhuman ability as they murder their way through ye old picturesque towns and cities. But how much of the game's fiction is actually possible? Time to take a look at some of the key tropes of the series and ask, does it work? When it comes to taking out a target, Assassin's Creed gives you plenty of lethal options. Throwing knives, crossbows, poison blades, and guns all find a place in your arsenal. Notably, the vast majority of these have been used as instruments of death by real-life assassins through the ages. But what about the most iconic weapon of the entire Assassin's Creed franchise? The Hidden Blade. Deadly when strapped to the arm of an assassino, the Hidden Blade can deploy and retract at a moment's notice, allowing for a silent and stealthy kill. In later games, when combined with a metal bracer, it can even be used for full-on combat. Unfortunately, unlike the vast majority of the weapons in your fictional arsenal, the Hidden Blade, as we see it here, does not appear to have existed in reality. However, concealed and disguised blades certainly have had their place in murdery history. Take a look at this blade, for example, hidden inside a pencil on display at the Imperial War Museum in London. Okay, but just because our Hidden Blade didn't exist, doesn't mean it couldn't work. In the fiction, the device consists of a retractable blade attached to the lower arm and wrist and usually combines with a bracer to aid the blocking of incoming attacks. The precise details of the device vary, however, dependent on the era. For example, assassins from the time of Altair were required to have their ring finger lopped off to make way for the extendo blade. Thankfully for Ezio in Assassin's Creed 2, the mechanism had been modified, but that didn't stop Leonardo joking around.
Now all that's left is to remove your ring finger. Really? I'm sorry, but this is how it must be done. The blade is designed to ensure the commitment of whoever wields it. Bene. Do it quickly. I was only having fun, Ezio.
I don't care how many genius things you invent, Leo, that's no excuse for being a dick. The feasibility of a real hidden blade gets shakier when you look at the deployment mechanism. Early trailers from the original Assassin's Creed clearly show a button press to trigger the blade, whereas on other occasions it just appears to take a flick of the wrist to activate. If it is indeed activated by a simple muscle contraction, this would certainly be an easy way to deploy the blade, but perhaps a little bit too easy.
I did not know you had returned to Roma.
Had a second chance.
One more plausible way of activating the blade has been hinted at in Assassin's Creed The Secret Crusade. It consists of a ring attached with string around middle finger and pulled to deploy or retract the blade. This is such a good idea, in fact, that a bunch of people have actually built models which function in just this way. You can even purchase high-spec replicas so you too can sneak around with a model of the coolest weapon in fake history. Be it by jumping from roof to roof or scaling towers and buildings, the super agile assassins have no problem getting around the city. But how possible is it to traverse an urban environment in such a way? Jumping around on buildings pretty much sums up modern day parkour. One quick Google gives you more incredible examples of speed and agility than you can shake a hidden blade at. This one especially amazing video showing parkour and free running has had over 29 million views on YouTube, not too shabby. Scaling buildings and surfaces Ezio style also appears to be well within the realms of human capability. Just look at this guy in India climb up this seemingly flat wall. Or the many examples of half-crazed nutjobs who insist on climbing modern-day skyscrapers without the aid of rope or harness. To die-hard fans of Assassin's Creed, the sound of a screaming eagle means 3 simple words and 1 stunt of death defiance: leap of faith. However, is it possible for someone to pull off such a move without, going splat? Well, let's investigate with little help from the lovely people at Kotaku, who produced an excellent analysis of the leap of faith back in 2009. Follow the link below for a really detailed read, but the gist is as follows. It's not the fall that kills you, rather the speed of your deceleration. Imagine a trapeze artist falling into a safety net. The reason they don't smush is because the mat decelerates them more gradually than would the cold hard ground. Now, our assassin in freefall accelerates at the standard 9.8 meters per second due to gravity. So, in the name of science, let's jump off this tower and time it. Right, that took about 3.5 seconds, so we can calculate its final velocity as 9.8 times 3.5, which comes out at roughly 35 meters per second, so that's a little over 70 miles per hour. Now imagine a car speeding at 70 miles an hour with a 1 meter thick block of hay strapped to the front, slamming into our poor helpless assassin as he crosses the road without looking. Yep, I don't care if that's the softest hay money can buy, that's one dead assassin. Also, on top of the impact problem, you've got the issue of actually hitting the landing zone. Remember that the higher you climb, the smaller your effective target. To see how much hay would actually be needed for a safe leap of faith, check out the Kotaku article. Hint, it's a lot. Or you could just call up and ask the chaps at the Witcher 2 developers CD Projekt. From the look at this Easter egg in their game, they've already done the math. Okay, but from what height could you safely do this jump? Well, granted it's not quite the same, but there is this guy here called Darren Taylor, or Professor Splash to his friends, who holds the world record for shallow dive into paddling pool. Here he is attempting to break his previous record with a jump of 11 meters. Let's take a look. Wow, he looks happy. And finally, what about the giant elephant in the room? You know, that central sci-fi conceit of the whole fiction, without which the series could not exist. The animus. Or more specifically, the ability of DNA to hold the memories of your ancestors. Is that possible? In a word, no. DNA is the stuff that contains the genetic instructions used in the development and functioning of all living things. In humans, it's inherited from your parents, half from your mother and half from your father. With the exception of some random mutations built up over time, your DNA makeup, or genome, is the same today as it was the day you were born. So no way for it to remember anything you or your ancestors have done. Also, as humans, we share roughly 95% of our DNA with chimps and roughly 33% with yeast. So if DNA did contain ancestors' memories, then most of what you'd remember would be about being a pre-hominid or maybe a single-celled beastie feasting on sugar. The researchers at Abstergo, though, would have gotten along pretty well with this dude, 18th century French biologist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. His now discredited theory of inheritance, reasonably popular in its day, said that parents could pass on characteristics they weren't born with, but picked up in their lifetime to their kids. So if your mum learned to wrestle as a teenager and your dad picked up Morris dancing before fathering you, then hey, maybe you'd be a pro wrestling Morris dancer or something. But then, even Lamarckism doesn't go as far as saying as you could pass on actual memories. As always, we're not here to ruin anyone's fun with our insufferably nerdy musings. The Assassin's Creed fiction is awesome and, like all our favourite sci-fi, walks the line quite wonderfully between the imaginationally grabbingly fantastic and the kinda maybe plausible. Apart from, the whole genetic memory thing.